Welcome back, dear friend. Tonight we journey into one of the most fascinating realms of myth and legend, the world of Norse mythology. This is a universe of frost and fire, of gods and giants, of trickery and wisdom, and of epic battles that span across the 9 realms. So before you get too comfortable, take a moment to like and subscribe, but only if you enjoy the type of content that merges myth and mystery. And hey, let us know from where you are watching and what time it is for you right now. Sometimes our stories are better than sleep, and other times they make you dream louder. It's time now to dim the lights, turn on a fan for some gentle noise, and let's cover what we have for tonight together. The primordial void, Ginnungagap, before there was light, before there was time, before even the idea of existence was whispered into the cosmos, there was Ginnungagap. Imagine, dear friend, a silence so complete that it hums softly in your mind, a darkness so deep that your eyes cannot even remember what light once felt like. Ginnungagap was not like the emptiness between stars, for even the void of space holds matter, holds energy, holds faint whispers of radiation traveling for eons. This chasm, this gap, was something stranger. It was a nothingness that also contained potential. It was neither being nor non-being, neither cold nor hot, neither quiet nor loud, but a paradox, a yawning openness waiting to become something more. The name itself is telling. Ginnungagap, in the language of the Norse, means a magical, mighty void, a gaping mouth between worlds that did not yet exist. And yet, within this unshaped gulf, 2 primal forces stirred on either side, waiting to collide. To the north stretched Niflheim, a land of eternal frost and ice, a place where mist curled like sleeping breath, and sharp winds howled without sound. To the south burned Muspelheim, a land of flame, searing and alive, where sparks flew endlessly into the blackness. And in between those 2 extremes lay Ginnungagap, a space neither frozen nor fiery, but filled with a strange tension of opposites. When you close your eyes and imagine this scene, think of a night so still you can hear your own heartbeat echo. Think of lying on your back, wrapped in a blanket, a fan humming softly nearby, your thoughts slipping into that floating place between wakefulness and dream. That's what Ginnungagap was like. Not entirely asleep, not entirely awake, but an endless possibility hovering just beyond comprehension. From Niflheim came rivers, 12 of them, flowing sluggishly from a dark well called Vergelmir. These rivers carried poison, ice, and frost into the emptiness. They hardened into blocks, piling slowly like a mountain of glass. Over time, the cold mist thickened, and the void grew heavy with rime. Meanwhile, from Muspelheim poured heat and light, rolling sparks like embers from a giant bonfire. These sparks danced across Ginnungagap until they met the ice, and the collision of fire and frost awoke something new. Life itself. Here lies one of the beautiful paradoxes of Norse creation. In most mythologies, the world is born from order, triumphing over chaos, from divine command shaping the universe into neat, stable forms. But in Norse thought, it is not order against chaos, but fire against ice. 2 raw, untamed forces clashing, melting, and freezing in endless rhythm. Creation, in this vision, is not something tidy. It is messy. It is born of conflict, but also of harmony between opposites. It is the breath of winter meeting the spark of fire on a frozen morning. As ice melted under the warmth of Muspelheim's sparks, shapes began to stir. Drops of water formed, then dripped, then quickened, and from those drops, the first being emerged, a giant named Ymir. His body was massive, filling the space of Ginnungagap. He was the embodiment of chaos and potential, a creature neither fully god nor fully mortal, carrying within him the seeds of countless generations. Yet Ymir was not alone in that first breath of life. As frost melted, a cosmic cow named Audhumla also appeared, her milk flowing in great streams to nourish Ymir. But before we step too far into Ymir's story, linger here a little longer in Ginnungagap. Think about how the Norse people, long ago, might have pictured this great chasm. For them, the world was full of sharp contrasts. Winters were long and bitter, while summers were short but fierce. The fire of the sun and the ice of the fjords defined their survival. So when they thought of beginnings, they didn't imagine a single god creating the world with a word. Instead, they imagined fire and ice colliding in the middle of an infinite nothingness, because that was what they knew most deeply: the bite of snow and the crackle of flame. It's worth remembering, too, that Norse mythology was carried not in books at first, but in the voices of storytellers. Imagine yourself seated by a longhouse fire, the flames flickering against wooden walls. Outside, the wind howls across the fjords, rattling the doors, reminding you of the power of the void. And inside, a voice, steady and low, tells you of Ginnungagap, that silent abyss where everything began. The storyteller's words are like sparks lighting up the dark corners of your imagination, painting pictures of frost and flame. You lean closer, your breath warm against the cold air, and you feel for a moment as though you too are floating in that primeval void. The concept of Ginnungagap also whispers something about the Norse view of time and fate. Unlike many traditions that imagine a single beginning and a single end, the Norse saw life as cyclical, repeating, rising and falling like the seasons. Ginnungagap was not only the beginning, but also the backdrop into which everything would one day dissolve again. Just as Ragnarok foretells the end of the world, it also foretells its rebirth. And where does that rebirth take place? In Ginnungagap, the void waits patiently, timelessly, to cradle creation once more. Some scholars suggest that Ginnungagap was not thought of as a place, but as a condition, a state of being before the world could even dream of existing. And in that state, there is something oddly comforting. It is not chaos in the sense of disorder, but more like the stillness before dawn, a stillness you might feel now, lying in bed, listening to the steady hum around you, letting your mind wander between thought and dream. In modern retellings, Ginnungagap is sometimes described as terrifying, an abyss of fear, but perhaps the Old Norse saw it differently. To them, it was necessary. Without the gap, there would be no stage for fire and ice to meet, no cradle for life to form, no balance to set the rhythm of the cosmos. It was the canvas on which the entire story of gods, giants, and men would be painted. So let us linger one last moment in Ginnungagap before we leave it behind. Picture the darkness stretching endlessly around you, neither hostile nor welcoming, simply existing. From the north drifts a chill mist, curling like smoke across your vision. From the south, faint sparks of a fire flutter into the dark, fading like stars. The 2 inch closer, touch, and then, drip by drip, spark by spark, the first stirrings of life are born. That is where it all begins. The first being, Ymir, the giant, out of the meeting of fire and ice, from the melting frost that dripped and steamed in the yawning chasm of Ginnungagap, there emerged the first living being. His name was Ymir. He was vast beyond imagining, so large that even the gods who came after could scarcely describe his size. Ymir was a giant, the very first of his kind, and from him all other giants, the Jotnar, would descend. When you picture Ymir, dear friend, don't think of a simple giant as you've seen in fairy tales, with lumbering steps and clumsy hands. Think instead of a being so primal, so immense, that he was almost like the landscape itself. His body was a world of its own. Rivers of sweat ran from him. Frost clung to his limbs, and his breath echoed like storms. He was chaos, given form, a living embodiment of the collision between heat and cold, creation and destruction. And yet, though he was alive, Ymir was not alone in the void. From his body, as if life could not help but multiply, came more beings. As he slept, sweat gathered in the folds of his body. From his left arm, a man and a woman grew. From his legs, another child was born. Even from his feet came life, joining together to bring forth yet more giants. Ymir was the father and mother of the race of Jotnar, the ancient adversaries of the gods. But giants in Norse mythology are not merely villains or brutish foes. They represent the wild, untamed forces of the world. They are mountains and storms, oceans and night skies. They are vast, dangerous, but also necessary. Without Ymir and his children, there could be no balance, no story for the gods to tell, no challenges for them to overcome. Ymir's existence was both a gift and a burden to all that followed. And here, within the void, Ymir found nourishment in a strange and gentle companion. From the melting ice came not only Ymir, but also a cosmic cow named Audhumla. Her body gleamed with frost, her breath was cool mist, and from her teats flowed 4 rivers of milk. It was this milk that sustained Ymir, who drank deeply from it and grew ever larger. Without Audhumla, Ymir might never have survived, and the world we know might never have come into being. Audhumla herself lived by licking the salty blocks of ice that surrounded her. Day by day, as her rough tongue moved across the frozen stone, she uncovered something new within the ice. At first, a single strand of hair appeared. On the second day, the outline of a head took shape. On the third day, a man fully emerged, Buri, the first of the gods. Thus, while Ymir gave rise to the giants, Audhumla revealed the beginnings of the divine. So we see, In these earliest moments, the roots of the eternal tension between gods and giants. They were born together from the same frost and the same sparks of fire, but their destinies would diverge. The giants were numerous, powerful, and chaotic. The gods were fewer, but destined to rise in strength and wisdom. Ymir, as the ancestor of the Jotnar, stood at the heart of this unfolding drama. But for now, let us remain with Ymir. Imagine him sleeping in the void, his body immense and heavy, filling the silence of Ginnungagap. From his sweat, new giants form, their voices echoing in the empty gulf, their footsteps shaking the frost. They spread, multiplying, filling the void with noise and movement. The once still chasm is now alive with beings, restless and fierce. And at the center of it all lies Ymir, the first giant, both father and landscape, both progenitor and prisoner of his own vastness. There is something strangely dreamlike in Ymir's story. It is as though he is less a character and more a dream of the cosmos itself, dreamed into being by the clash of fire and ice. He doesn't strive, or plan, or shape the world. He simply exists, and in his existence, life multiplies. His children emerge without intention, spilling forth as naturally as rivers flow to the sea. Perhaps that is why his story feels so fitting for us to tell as we drift toward sleep. Ymir is like the unconscious mind, vast and filled with strange shapes, birthing thoughts and dreams, without reason, without control. It's worth pausing to imagine how the old Norse storytellers might have pictured him. Seafarers, hunters, and warriors sat in smoky halls, their bellies warm with mead, listening to the skald weave Ymir's tale. Perhaps they imagined him lying across the horizon, his breath moving the clouds, his sweat turning into rivers. To them, Ymir was not only a story, but also an explanation. Why the world was so wild, why nature was so unpredictable, why giants of snow and storm seemed always to threaten human life. Ymir was the first force of chaos, and every storm that rattled the longhouse doors was like an echo of his restless spirit. And yet, Ymir was also necessary. Without him, there would have been no world at all. For though he was destined to fall, his body would be the raw material out of which the gods would shape creation. Every mountain, every valley, every river and cloud, all of these would one day be carved from Ymir's form. But for now, in this part of the tale, he is simply alive, vast and mysterious, cradled between the frost of Niflheim and the flames of Muspelheim, drinking deeply of Audhumla's milk, dreaming the beginnings of existence. Think, for a moment, of lying beneath a heavy blanket, the warmth pressing close around you, the hum of a fan, or the sigh of the wind filling your ears. That heaviness, that sense of being surrounded by vastness and stillness at once, is not unlike Ymir in Ginnungagap. He is the dreamer of creation, the heavy silence before the first dawn. And as you drift deeper into this tale, you might feel the weight of that stillness pressing gently on your eyelids, drawing you closer to rest. Ymir is not a god. He is not a man. He is not even entirely a character in the way we understand them. He is a bridge between nothingness and somethingness. He is the first stirring of life in a universe that had not yet remembered what it meant to live. And from him, all that followed, gods, giants, humans, even the world itself, would spring. So let us end this section with Ymir still sleeping, still vast, still dreaming in Ginnungagap. Around him, the frost drips, the sparks flicker, and the cow Audumla continues to lick the salty ice, revealing more of what is to come. The stage is set. The first giant has been born. The first god has appeared. The great story of Norse mythology is slowly unfolding, and though Ymir does not yet know it, his fate is already written. From his body, a new world will rise. The birth of the gods, the void of Ginnungagap, had been still for countless ages. But now, with Ymir breathing heavily in the darkness and Audhumla licking patiently at the ice, new life stirred. The cows, tongues scraped at the salty blocks of frozen rime, day after day, in the rhythm of eternity, and slowly, as though the ice itself longed to give up its secret, something emerged. On the first day, a single hair appeared. Imagine it, one strand of hair glistening in the frost, thin as a thread of sunlight caught in winter snow. On the second day, the outline of a head pushed forward, its features still locked in ice, but already bearing the shape of a man. On the third day, he was free, whole, living, and strong. He stepped out from the frozen block as though he had been waiting since the dawn of time to breathe. His name was Buri. Buri was not like Ymir. He was not vast and chaotic, not sweat-born or tangled in strange limbs. He was godly in form, bright and powerful. From him came a sense of order, of strength, of something greater than the churning chaos of giants. While Ymir represented the wild beginnings, Buri was the first seed of what would become the Aesir, the tribe of gods who would rule the cosmos. Buri soon had a son, Bor, though the stories are quiet about how exactly he came to be. Some say Buri shaped him, others that he was born in mystery, as all beginnings are. What matters is that, from Bor, the divine line continued, and Bor, in turn, would take as his wife a giantess named Besla, the daughter of a giant from Jotunheim. Here, already, we see the mingling of two forces, god and giant, order and chaos, fire and ice. For even the gods, at their start, were bound to the giants by blood. From Bor and Besla were born three sons. Their names would echo through all of time: Odin, Vili, and Ve. These three brothers, grandsons of Buri, great-grandsons of the ice and fire that birthed the void, were the first true gods of might and will. Together, they looked upon the endless chasm, upon Ymir and his sprawling descendants, and they understood that change must come. Odin, the eldest, was unlike any who had come before. His eyes were sharp, filled with the hunger for knowledge. Already, he was restless, yearning to see beyond what was, to seek wisdom, even if it meant great sacrifice. Vili, his brother, carried courage, the will to act, to dare, to step forward when others faltered. And Ve, the youngest, embodied sacredness and order, the power of ritual and law. Between them, these three brothers carried the seeds of what would define the gods: wisdom, will, and holiness. Now, imagine the three of them standing in Ginnungagap, the void still echoing with Ymir's heavy breathing. Around them stretched the frost of Niflheim and the sparks of Muspelheim. The giants were multiplying, loud and restless, children of Ymir filling the space with noise and shadow. And the three young gods looked upon this world of beginnings and saw that it could not remain so. There was no balance, no structure. The giants grew endlessly, unchecked, like wild rivers flooding their banks. The gods knew that something had to be done. It was then, dear friend, that the fateful choice was made. Odin and his brothers turned their gaze upon Ymir, the primeval giant who had given life to all the Jotnar. Though Ymir was their ancestor by blood, he was also the embodiment of chaos, too vast, too consuming for any world to grow beneath him. And so, with heavy hearts but firm resolve, the brothers rose against him. This was no simple battle. Imagine, if you can, three young gods facing a being whose body spanned the chasm, whose breath was like storms, whose strength was that of mountains. The clash must have shaken the very void. Sparks and frost flew. Rivers of sweat turned to seas of blood. Ymir fought, for he was life itself. But the gods carried with them a destiny greater than raw force. With courage and will, they struck him down. When Ymir fell, his death was not the end, but the beginning of everything we know. From his immense body, the gods began to shape the cosmos. They dragged him into the center of Ginnungagap and set about their work. His blood poured out, flooding the void, drowning most of the giants who had sprung from him. Only a few survived, fleeing to distant places where they would grow strong again and remember their vengeance. From Ymir's flesh, the gods created the land. His bones became the mountains, sharp and jagged. His teeth and fragments of bone turned into stones and cliffs. His blood became the oceans, vast and deep, surrounding the land on all sides. His skull they raised high, forming the sky, a great dome arching above the new world. To keep it in place, they set 4 dwarves at its corners, naming them Nordri, Sudri, Austri, and Vestri, north, south, east, and west. His brain they cast into the sky as clouds, drifting softly above, and from Ymir's eyebrows, they built a protective wall around the center of this new world. Within this enclosure, they made a realm for humankind to live, a place safe from the wildness of giants. They called it Midgard, the middle enclosure. Thus, from the body of the first giant, the world was shaped. From death came life, from chaos came order, from sacrifice came the stage upon which all stories would unfold. Pause here for a moment and let this image settle in your mind. The ground beneath your feet, the mountains rising in the distance, the seas stretching endlessly, the very sky above your head. All of these, in the Norse imagination, are the body of Ymir. To walk the earth is to walk his skin. To sail the seas is to drift upon his blood. To gaze at the clouds is to see the remnants of his mind. Even now, long after the tale was first spoken, this vision has a strange power. The world itself becomes alive. A great being sacrificed so that life could flourish. And within this new world, shaped from Ymir's remains. The three brothers turned their thoughts to what was missing. They had created land and sea, sky and clouds, but there was no one yet to walk upon the ground, to marvel at the sky, to tell stories beneath the stars. That, dear friend, will come in the next part of our tale, for Odin, Vili, and Ve were not finished. They had built the world, but it still waited for its first true people. So let us end this chapter with the gods standing in Midgard, their creation newly formed, the seas still fresh with Ymir's blood, the mountains rising sharp from his bones, the clouds drifting lazily from his brain. The world is quiet, vast, and waiting. The giants stir in the shadows, survivors of the flood, and the gods stand ready to continue their work. From the death of Ymir, the first being, the stage of existence has been set, and soon humankind will step forward onto it. The death of Ymir, the giant Ymir had lived as the first being, sprawling, vast, and heavy within Ginnungagap. From his sweat and from his body, countless giants had sprung. They filled the void with their loud voices and endless hunger. They were children of chaos, untamed, fierce, and multiplying with no limit. But the three brothers, Odin, Vili, and Ve, the sons of Bor and Bestla, had begun to see more clearly what must come. They had inherited not only the raw power of their divine line, but also the strange spark of order, a sense that the churning mass of beings could not remain forever. There must be structure, there must be balance. And so, though Ymir was their distant kin, though he was the very ancestor of their mother, the three gods raised their will against him. This moment is among the most dramatic in all of Norse myth, for it marks the first true clash between gods and giants, a conflict that would echo across eternity. Imagine, dear friend, how it must have felt. Ymir, towering, his breath rolling like thunder, his limbs vast as rivers and mountains, and before him, three young gods, still newly risen from the frost, still only beginning to know their strength. Yet their purpose was steady. Odin's eyes glinted with resolve. Vili's courage burned within him, and Ve carried the weight of sacred law. Together, they prepared to do what no one had done before, to take the raw chaos of life and shape it into something new. The battle between Ymir and the three brothers is not described in detail in the old sources, but we can imagine its scale. The clash would have shaken the void itself. Ymir's roar would have echoed across Ginnungagap, like storms breaking mountains. Frost and fire collided around them, ice shattering, sparks flying like stars into the darkness. The gods, though, small against his massive frame, fought with cunning and determination. Blow after blow they struck, until at last the great giant fell. And when Ymir fell, his blood poured out in torrents. Rivers of it gushed across Ginnungagap, a flood so vast that nearly all the giants were drowned. The sea that we know today, in the Norse imagination, was born of Ymir's blood, and it swallowed his children whole. Only a single family of giants escaped, Bergelmir and his wife, who climbed into a hollow tree and floated away on the flood. From them, the race of giants would endure, enemies and rivals of the gods, until the end of time. Pause for a moment and picture this scene slowly. The body of Ymir lies heavy, stretching endlessly. His blood becomes the seas, spreading in every direction, filling the void with their cold depths. His body does not vanish. Instead, Odin, Vili, and Ve turn to it with solemn eyes. For though Ymir was their foe, though he was chaos itself, he was also the raw material from which something new could be shaped. The brothers set to work. They dragged Ymir's immense body into the center of Ginnungagap, laying it like a canvas upon the chasm. From his flesh, they crafted the earth itself. Green fields and plains spread out from his skin, wide and endless. From his bones, they raised mountains, jagged and tall, their peaks sharp as spears. His teeth and fragments of shattered bone became rocks and cliffs, scattered across the land. Then they turned to his blood. It flowed still, heavy and wide. From it, they shaped the seas and oceans, lakes and rivers. The waters spread, circling the new lands, rushing between mountains, carving valleys into the flesh of the world. His skull they lifted high above, placing it as a dome over the earth. This became the sky, vast and arched, curving over everything. To hold it in place, they called forth 4 dwarves and placed them at its corners, naming them Nordri, Sudri, Ostri, and Vestri, north, south, east, and west. These 4 stood as eternal guardians, their presence holding up the heavens. From Ymir's brain, they shaped the clouds, drifting softly, billowing white and gray across the sky. His hair they spread as trees and forests, covering the land in green life. And from his eyebrows, they created a great wall, encircling a realm they named Midgard, the middle enclosure. This place would be the home of humankind, safe from the giants who prowled beyond. Think of it now, dear friend, how vivid this vision must have been for the Norse people. Every mountain they saw was a bone of Ymir. Every stream was his blood. Every cloud overhead was his mind drifting still in the sky. To live in the world was to live within the body of a slain giant, to tread each day upon the remains of the first being. There is something eerie in it, and something beautiful too. The world was alive with memory, alive with sacrifice, and yet this was not a story of cruelty. The death of Ymir was not told as senseless murder, but as transformation. The raw, chaotic being had given way to order, his life becoming the very foundation of existence. Without Ymir's fall, there could be no seas to sail, no land to walk, no sky to watch. His ending was also the beginning of all that came after. The gods must have stood then in silence, looking upon what they had shaped. Around them stretched mountains and oceans, forests and rivers. The dome of the sky curved above, and the clouds drifted lazily across it. The world was there, vast and ready, and yet it was not complete. There was no sun yet to shine upon it, no moon to mark the passage of time, no stars to guide the travelers of night. There were no people to marvel at its beauty, no voices to tell its stories. That, dear friend, was still to come. But in this moment, the first true act of the gods had been completed. They had slain the giant Ymir. They had used his body to form the cosmos itself. They had brought shape and structure to the yawning gap of Ginnungagap. The endless void was no longer empty, no longer silent. It was filled with land and water, with air and sky. It had become the world. And so, as the blood of Ymir settled into oceans, as the mountains rose high from his bones, as the winds drifted through his skull-dome sky, Odin, Vili, and Ve looked upon their creation and prepared for what would come next. For the story of the world was only beginning, and many more wonders and terrors lay ahead. The creation of humanity. The world was quiet after the fall of Ymir. His body had been transformed into land and sea, his skull lifted into the heavens, his bones turned to mountains, and his blood spread into rivers and oceans. The sky arched above, clouds drifting like the thoughts of a sleeping giant. The forests whispered in the winds, and the waves lapped against the shores. But though the earth was alive, it was also lonely. There were gods now. Yes, Odin, Vili, and Ve had carved the world into order. Giants, too, had survived the flood, clinging to life in the shadows of distant realms. But there were no beings who would walk the earth in wonder. No fragile creatures who would look up at the stars and ask questions. No voices to sing or tell stories by firelight. The gods, standing on the shore of this new-made world, knew something was missing. One day, as Odin, Vili, and Ve wandered along the coastline, they came upon two trees lying close to the water's edge. One was an ash tree, tall and strong, though fallen now in the sand. The other was an elm, slender and graceful, also lying still. The waves lapped softly against their roots. The breeze whispered through their branches. To the gods, these trees seemed more than wood. They seemed like vessels waiting to be filled. Odin, ever the seeker of knowledge, gazed at the trees and saw possibility. Vili, with his courage and will, felt the urge to act. Ve, guardian of sacredness, sensed the holiness of the moment. Together, the brothers agreed. From these trees, they would shape the first humans. And so, they began their work. Odin leaned close and breathed life into them, a deep breath that filled their forms with spirit and soul. Vili gave them wit, intelligence, and movement, the ability to think, to reason, to shape words and deeds. They bestowed upon them form, speech, hearing, and sight, completing their humanity with senses to experience the world. The ash tree became a man. They named him Ask, meaning ash, the strong and upright. The elm became a woman. They named her Embla, whose name has been interpreted in many ways. Perhaps elm, perhaps vine, perhaps something fragile that grows. Together, Ask and Embla were the first of humankind. The gods stood back and looked upon them. For the first time, eyes blinked open and gazed at the world in wonder. For the first time, lungs filled with air and a heart beat within a chest. For the first time, two beings looked at one another and felt the spark of companionship, of recognition, of the possibility of love. The silence of the world was broken by the sound of voices, uncertain at first, then stronger. Humankind had awakened. Ask and Embla were fragile compared to the giants, compared even to the gods. Their bodies were small, their strength limited, yet within them burned a spark unlike any other. They could learn, they could dream, they could tell stories, they could build. They carried within them the gift of the gods, breath, thought, and spirit. The brothers placed Ask and Embla within Midgard, the middle enclosure, protected by Ymir's great eyebrows turned into walls. Here, humankind would be safe from the giants beyond. Midgard was their home, their cradle, a place where they could grow and flourish. From Ask and Embla would descend all the men and women of the world, each generation carrying within them the divine gifts of Odin, Vili, and Ve. Pause here, dear friend, and let yourself imagine the moment. The sea is calm, its waves lapping gently at the shore. The trees lie in the sand, their bark rough beneath your hand. Then, a breath, a stirring, fingers move, eyes open. A voice whispers in the air. Life is born where before there was silence. This is the magic of creation, not through destruction now, but through gentle giving. The gods breathe, and humanity awakens. The Norse saw Ask and Embla as more than mere characters in a story. They were symbols of what it means to be human. Ask, the ash tree, represented strength, endurance, the uprightness of mankind. Embla, the elm or vine, represented growth, connection, and the weaving together of lives. Together they embodied balance, strength and grace, will and nurture, man and woman, bound together to form a people. There is a quiet beauty in the story of Ask and Embla. Unlike the violence of Ymir's fall, their creation is gentle, almost tender. The gods did not carve them from stone or forge them from metal. They found them as trees, already part of the earth, already alive in a sense, and they transformed them into something more. It suggests that humanity is deeply rooted in the natural world. We are of the trees, of the earth, of the living fabric, of creation itself. For the Norse people, living close to nature in harsh northern landscapes, this connection would have been powerful. They knew the trees of their forests. They relied on wood for warmth, for shelter, for ships to sail the seas. To imagine themselves as born of trees was to affirm that they were part of the natural order, bound to the earth as surely as roots are bound to soil. And yet, the gifts of the gods set humanity apart. Breath, thought, and spirit. These were not given to rocks or rivers, not even to the trees themselves, only to Ask and Embla, and through them, to all their descendants. Humanity was fragile, but also unique, touched by the divine. Imagine, if you will, Ask and Embla walking through Midgard for the first time. The ground beneath their feet is soft, with Ymir's flesh turned to soil. The sky above them arches wide, Ymir's skull domed overhead. The mountains rise tall, his bones reaching upward. The rivers flow around them, his blood still rushing, and they walk hand in hand, the first humans, gazing at this world with eyes full of wonder. Every sight is new, every sound is a marvel. The air itself is a gift, the breath of Odin still lingering within their lungs. The gods watched them with care. They had not simply created a world to be silent and empty. They had created it to be lived in, to be known, to be cherished. And in Ask and Embla, they had shaped beings who could do just that. Humankind would tell the stories of the gods, would pass down the myths, would remember the sacrifices and the beginnings. Without people to tell it, even the greatest story fades. But with Ask and Embla, the tale of creation would endure. So it was that humankind began, from two trees on a lonely shore, with the breath of the gods in their lungs, and the gifts of wit and sense in their minds. The first man and woman stepped into Midgard. From them would come generations uncounted, men and women living, struggling, building, dreaming, fighting and loving, all carrying within them the legacy of ash and elm, the gifts of Odin, Vili, and Ve. And as we rest here in the story, you might feel something similar yourself. You too are breathing the gift of life, the breath of your ancestors, the breath of the world itself. You too walk upon the flesh of Ymir, upon the earth shaped by sacrifice. You too are part of Ask and Embla's line, fragile, yet wondrous, bound to the trees and the winds, but lifted by something greater within. Yggdrasil, the world tree, when the world had been shaped from Ymir's body and humankind placed within Midgard, the gods knew that there must also be order, not only in the land, but in the very structure of the cosmos. The world was vast, and it needed something to bind it together, to connect its many realms, and to sustain all life within it. Out of this understanding arose one of the most awe-inspiring visions in Norse mythology, Yggdrasil, the world tree. Imagine it now, in the dim light of your drifting thoughts, a tree so vast that no eye can measure its height, no hand can encircle its trunk, no mind can fully grasp its reach. Its roots plunge deep into the most secret places, its branches stretch wide across the heavens, and its trunk stands in the very heart of existence. Yggdrasil is not merely a tree, it is the spine of the cosmos, the axis around which all things turn. The old poets described Yggdrasil as an ash tree, tall and sturdy, its bark shining white, its branches spreading over the whole world. From its crown, dew falls like silver rain, nourishing all lands below. Its leaves rustle with whispers, as though carrying the voices of time itself. And beneath its roots, mysteries lie hidden in shadows and water. Yggdrasil connects the 9 worlds of Norse myth. Picture them arranged not as places on a map, but as realms nestled within the branches and roots of the tree. Midgard, the home of humankind, lies in the middle, enclosed within the trunk's shelter. Above it stretch Asgard, the shining realm of the gods. Vanaheim, home of the Vanir deities of fertility and prosperity. And Alfheim, where the elves dwell in light. Higher still lie worlds of fire and of spirit, though no man may see them clearly. Beneath, the roots twist downward into darker places. One root stretches into Jotunheim, the land of giants, wild and perilous. Another reaches into Niflheim, the land of cold and mist, where the dragon Nidhogg gnaws ceaselessly at Yggdrasil's root. A third root extends into the well of Urd, where the Norns, the weavers of fate, tend to the tree and to destiny itself. The image of Yggdrasil is at once comforting and haunting. It is life, yes, but also struggle, for the tree is not untouched by harm. Animals live upon it and beneath it, feeding from its bark and leaves, gnawing at its roots. An eagle perches high in its branches, watching with stern eyes. Between its eyes sits a hawk named Vedrfolnir, gazing down at the world. At its base, the serpent Nidhogg and other dragons gnaw constantly, seeking to weaken it. Squirrels scamper up and down its trunk, carrying insults between the eagle above and the dragon below, stirring discord for their own amusement. Stags wander through its branches, nibbling at its leaves. And yet, despite this constant wear, Yggdrasil endures. The Norns water it daily with sacred water from the well of Erd, mixed with white clay, keeping its roots strong. The dew that falls from its branches nourishes all living beings. In this way, the tree survives the endless struggle, just as life itself does, never free of pain, never without danger, but sustained by deep, hidden strength. For the Norse, Yggdrasil was not simply a picture of a tree, it was the structure of all reality. It was the connection between life and death, between gods and mortals, between order and chaos. It showed that the world is held together by delicate threads, always under threat, but always enduring. Think of how this would have felt on a quiet night in a Viking settlement. The wind outside shakes the timbers of the hall. The fire crackles. A storyteller speaks of Yggdrasil, the ash tree that holds the worlds. The listeners picture themselves as part of it, their lives just one small leaf, one fleeting dewdrop on its branches. And yet, that tree connects them to the gods, to their ancestors, to the vastness of time. There is a comfort in that vision, a sense of belonging, a reminder that, though life is brief and fragile, it is also bound to something immense and eternal. Yggdrasil also held within it the mystery of fate. At its roots sit the Norns, Urd, the past, Verdandi, the present, and Skuld, the future. These three maidens draw water from their sacred well and weave the threads of destiny for all beings. They carve runes into the trunk of the tree, shaping what will come to pass. Even the gods are not free from their weaving. Odin himself, chief of the Aesir, bows to the will of fate, spun at Yggdrasil's roots. Thus, the tree is not only the structure of the cosmos, but also the keeper of destiny. Its branches stretch across time as much as space. Every leaf, every creature, every ripple of life is touched by the weaving of the Norns. To be alive is to be part of their loom, to be a thread in the great tapestry they're always spinning. Pause with me here. Let your breath slow. Imagine yourself lying at the foot of Yggdrasil, the roots spread around you, vast and ancient, pulsing with the memory of all that has ever been. The trunk rises above, endless, disappearing into the clouds. You hear the rustling of the leaves like distant voices. You feel the cool dew falling against your skin. You sense both the danger, the gnawing of Nidhogg, the scurrying of creatures, and the strength, the unshaken endurance of the tree. You realize that your own life, your own story, is one of those leaves, trembling but glowing softly in the light. This, dear friend, is why Yggdrasil stands at the center of Norse mythology. It is not just a tree, it is life itself, enduring and fragile, gnawed at by pain, but sustained by hidden waters. It binds together gods and men, giants and elves, light and darkness. It is the reminder that we are all connected to one another, to the past and future, to fate itself. And so, the Norse told their stories beneath the shadow of Yggdrasil. For as long as the tree stands, the worlds endure. But they also knew that one day, even Yggdrasil would tremble at Ragnarok when the end would come. Yet even then, from its strength, life would rise again. That, however, is a tale for another night. The Nine Worlds. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine the vastness of Yggdrasil once more. Its trunk rises endlessly. Its bark is rough with age. Its sap filled with the memory of creation. Within its branches, hidden like birds' nests or caves, lie the Nine Worlds, each one unique, each one filled with its own people, creatures, and mysteries. Together, they form the fabric of existence. Tonight, we will visit them one by one in the order they often appear in the tales, though in truth, they are less like steps on a ladder and more like stars in a constellation, each shining in its own place, yet all tied together by the tree. Asgard, realm of the Aesir high, among the branches lies Asgard, the realm of the Aesir gods. Here Odin rules from his great hall, Valaskjalf, seated upon his high throne, Hlidskjalf, from which he can look out over all the worlds. Asgard is a place of shining halls and golden roofs. The most famous of these is Valhalla, the hall of the slain, where warriors who die bravely in battle are brought by the Valkyries to feast, fight, and prepare for the final battle of Ragnarok. But Asgard is more than a warrior's dream. It is the heart of divine order, where laws are made and oaths sworn. The gods gather at the roots of Yggdrasil each day to hold council. Here, too, is Bifrost, the rainbow bridge that connects Asgard to Midgard. It glows in colors of flame and water, a shimmering path watched over by Heimdall, the ever-vigilant guardian. Midgard, the home of humankind, at the center of Yggdrasil's trunk lies Midgard, the middle enclosure, where Ask and Embla were placed by the gods. Protected by the wall made from Ymir's eyebrows, Midgard is a realm of earth and sea, forests and mountains, storms and stillness. It is our world, the world of men and women, fragile yet full of wonder. Midgard is connected to Asgard by Bifrost, but it is separated from Jotunheim, the land of giants, by the wild sea. For humankind, Midgard is both cradle and battlefield, a place where they must labor, love, and endure, carrying the divine spark given by Odin, Vili, and Ve. Vanaheim, the realm of the Vanir beyond Midgard, lies Vanaheim, the home of the Vanir gods. If Asgard is a realm of order, war, and glory, Vanaheim is a realm of fertility, magic, and prosperity. The Vanir are the deities of earth's richness. Njord, god of the sea and wealth. His children, Freyr and Freyja, gods of harvest, love, and beauty. Long ago, the Aesir and Vanir warred with one another, a conflict that shook the worlds. Yet in the end, peace was made, and the two tribes of gods exchanged hostages, binding themselves together. Vanaheim thus represents the softer, but no less powerful forces of nature. the abundance of fields, the mysteries of seership, the gifts of love and desire. Jotunheim, the land of the giants, farther away, across deep rivers and jagged mountains, lies Jotunheim, the land of the Jotnar, the giants. They are not all monstrous, though many are vast and fearsome. They represent raw nature, untamed wilderness, chaos in its primal form. The gods often battle with them, yet they also marry them, take wisdom from them, and cannot fully separate from them. For the giants are as old as the gods themselves. Born from Ymir, the first being, Jotunheim is rugged and perilous, a place where storms rage and mountains loom. A reminder that the world is not tame, and that chaos forever presses against the edges of order. Alfheim, the realm of the elves, in the light-filled branches above. Midgard lies Alfheim, home of the light elves. They are radiant beings, beautiful and wise, associated with fertility, inspiration, and art. Though they are less often mentioned in the surviving myths, they appear as helpers, givers of gifts, and symbols of beauty. Their world glows like dawn, touched with silver light, a realm of harmony and delicate wonder. In later folklore, elves became tricksters and wanderers, but in the old songs, they were closer to divine, spirits of light that bless the world. Svartalfheim, or Nidavellir, the realm of the dwarves, deep within the roots of Yggdrasil, lies Svartalfheim, also known as Nidavellir, the home of the dwarves. Unlike the radiant elves above, the dwarves live in caverns and forges, shaping wonders from stone and metal. They are master smiths, creators of magical treasures. Thor's hammer, Mjolnir, Odin's spear, Gungnir, Freyr's ship, Skidbladnir, and many more. Though they dwell in shadow, their works shine brighter than gold. They are gruff, secretive, often suspicious of others, but their craft is unmatched. Svartalfheim is a place of firelight on stone walls, the ringing of hammers, and the smell of earth and ore. Niflheim, the world of ice and mist, one of the oldest realms. Niflheim lies beneath one of Yggdrasil's roots, a land of ice, frost, and endless mist. It is here that the frozen rivers of Ginnungagap once flowed, and from this land of cold, Ymir was formed. Niflheim is also the site of one of the most mysterious wells, Hvergelmir, from which many rivers flow. Coiling around it lies Nidhogg, the dragon, forever gnawing at Yggdrasil's root. Niflheim is a place of chill and shadow, where life struggles against the weight of cold. It is not simply a land of death, but of beginnings, for from its frost, all life first stirred. Muspelheim, the world of fire, opposite to Niflheim, lies Muspelheim, the land of flame. It is a realm of heat, sparks, and roaring fire, home to the fire giants led by Surt, who wields a flaming sword that shines brighter than the sun. Muspelheim is not a world of balance but of destruction, always waiting, always smoldering at the edge of existence. It was the fire of Muspelheim that melted the frost of Niflheim in Ginnungagap, creating Ymir and setting the cosmos into motion. And it will be Muspelheim that brings the end, when Surt leads his host against the gods at Ragnarok, setting the worlds ablaze. Helheim, the realm of the dead. Lastly, beneath Yggdrasil's deepest root, lies Helheim, the realm of the dead, ruled by the goddess Hel, daughter of Loki. It is a cold and shadowed place where those who die, not in battle, but of sickness, age, or misfortune dwell. Unlike Valhalla's endless feasting, Helheim is quiet, solemn, and still. It is not a place of fire and torment as later beliefs would imagine, but a gray land of silence and rest. The dead there live as shades, pale and subdued, yet still part of the fabric of the cosmos. Hell herself is half beautiful and half decayed, a symbol of the dual nature of death, both mystery and decay, both release and fear. Together, these 9 worlds form the cosmos of Norse mythology, not a straight ladder from high to low, but a web, a circle, a living structure bound by Yggdrasil. Each realm has its own purpose, its own meaning. They are not just places, but reflections of the forces that shape existence, order and chaos, life and death, fire and frost, light and shadow. Imagine, dear friend, drifting from one to the next, like a dream where the scenery shifts softly around you. You step from the shining halls of Asgard into the forests of Midgard. You cross a river and find yourself in Jotunheim, mountains rising around you. You climb upward and find Alfheim glowing with silver light. You descend into caverns lit by forge fire in Svartalfheim. You move deeper still into Niflheim's mists, then turn to feel Muspelheim's heat, and at last you pass into Helheim's stillness, where the dead whisper their quiet stories. All of them are bound together by Yggdrasil, and all of them are part of the whole. The Aesir gods. The Aesir are the central figures in many of the surviving Norse myths. They are the gods of sky, war, power, and order, though their tales are often filled with mischief, mistakes, and fate they cannot escape. They live in Asgard, that gleaming realm of golden halls above Midgard, yet their influence stretches across all 9 worlds. When you think of the Aesir, imagine figures both mighty and flawed, divine and yet strangely human, for the Norse gods are not eternal in the same way as in other traditions. They are destined to die at Ragnarok, to fall as mortals do, and it is this very mortality that makes them so compelling. They are powerful, but not untouchable, wise but often reckless, guardians of humankind, and yet deeply bound to fate. Let us wander through Asgard now, pausing at each god's hall to meet them one by one. Odin, the Allfather. At the heart of Asgard stands Odin, the Allfather, ruler of gods and men, seeker of wisdom, master of magic. He sits upon Hlidskjalf, his high throne, from which he sees into all worlds. 2 ravens, Hugin and Munin, thought and memory, fly each day across the realms, bringing him news. At his feet, 2 wolves, Geri and Freki, keep him company. Odin is not merely a king, he is a wanderer, a seeker, a god who sacrifices endlessly for knowledge. He plucked out one of his own eyes and cast it into the well of Mimir to gain wisdom. He hung himself upon Yggdrasil for 9 nights, pierced by his own spear, to learn the secret of the runes. He is the god of poetry, war, and magic, forever restless, forever searching. But Odin is also a figure of contradiction. He is a god of battle, yet rarely fights himself. He chooses who shall die and who shall live, sending the Valkyries to carry the fallen to Valhalla. He is wise, yet he often makes choices that bring suffering. He seeks order, but he allies with tricksters like Loki. Odin is, in many ways, the mystery of fate itself, a god who knows the end is coming, yet cannot turn away from it. Frigg, queen of the Aesir, beside Odin stands Frigg, his wife, the queen of Asgard. She is a goddess of foresight, marriage, and motherhood. Frigg is wise, and it is said she knows the fates of all. Yet she does not always speak what she knows. She dwells in her hall, Fensalir, surrounded by attendants, weaving clouds and watching over homes and families. Frigg's most famous tale is that of her son Balder. Knowing he was destined for a great fate, she sought oaths from every being in the world not to harm him. All agreed, except for the mistletoe, which she deemed too harmless to bother with. Yet it was by mistletoe that Balder was slain, tricked by Loki's cunning. In this story, Frigg embodies both the love of a mother and the tragic weight of fate, for even her care and foresight could not prevent destiny. Thor, the Thunderer. Few gods are as beloved in Norse mythology as Thor, son of Odin and Jord, the earth goddess. Thor is the protector of humankind, a god of thunder, strength, and storms. He wields Mjolnir, his mighty hammer, which can crush mountains and always returns to his hand when thrown. Thor rides in a chariot pulled by two goats, Tangrisnir and Tangjoster, across the sky, creating thunder with each strike of his hammer. He is fierce in battle, yet also hardy and good-natured, a god who drinks ale, feasts with mortals, and laughs loudly. Unlike Odin, Thor is not cunning or subtle. He meets problems head-on with strength and courage. He is the bane of the giants, fighting endlessly to keep their chaos from overwhelming the worlds. Yet even Thor is not immortal. At Ragnarok, he will face Jormungandr, the world serpent, and though he will slay the beast, he too will fall, poisoned by its venom. Thor's story is one of courage in the face of fate, of strength wielded not for conquest, but for protection. Balder, the beloved Balder, son of Odin and Frigg, is called the Shining One, the fair, the beloved of all. He is the god of light, joy, and innocence, said to be so beautiful and radiant that flowers bloom in his footsteps. Yet his story is the most tragic of the Aesir. Plagued by dreams of his own death, Balder became the center of his mother's desperate attempt to protect him. But fate, as always, found a way. Loki, cunning and cruel, fashioned a dart of mistletoe, the one thing that could harm him. He placed it in the hand of Balder's blind brother, Hoder, guiding him to strike. Balder fell, and the gods wept. His death is the turning point of Norse myth. The shadow that signals Ragnarok is approaching, yet it is also said that after the end of all things, Balder will return to rule in the new world, bringing light once more. He is both tragedy and hope, both loss and promise. Tyr, the god of law and sacrifice. Tyr is the god of justice, law, and courage. In older traditions, he may have been the chief god Before Odin rose to prominence, he is best known for his act of sacrifice during the binding of Fenrir, the great wolf, when the gods sought to bind Fenrir with chains. The wolf agreed to be bound only if one of them placed a hand in his mouth as a pledge of good faith. Tyr, knowing what would happen, placed his hand between the wolf's jaws. When Fenrir found he could not break free, he bit down, tearing away Tyr's hand. Thus, Tyr is forever depicted as one-handed, a symbol of sacrifice for the greater good. Tyr's role is one of balance and order. He is not as cunning as Odin or as strong as Thor, but he represents the laws that bind gods and men, the courage to uphold what is right even at great personal cost. Heimdall, the watchman of the gods, at the end of Bifrost, the Rainbow Bridge, stands Heimdall, the ever-watchful guardian of Asgard. He is said to see for hundreds of miles, to hear even the grass growing, and to need less sleep than a bird. He is the son of 9 mothers, born from the waves of the sea, and he is destined to blow the great horn, Gjallarhorn, at the beginning of Ragnarok, summoning the gods to battle. Heimdall is a figure of vigilance, purity, and protection. Some tales even call him the father of humanity, teaching men the arts of civilization. Yet his fate, too, is bound to the end, for he will face Loki in battle, and though each will slay the other, their struggle marks the final collapse of order into chaos. Other Aesir of note. The Aesir are many, and while some stand taller in story, others still weave through the fabric of myth. Bragi, god of poetry, son of Odin, with a tongue of golden verse. Idun, keeper of the apples of youth, which give the gods their strength. Forseti, god of peace and justice, son of Balder, said to settle all disputes fairly. Hoder, the blind god, whose tragic role in Balder's death sealed his fate. Each adds texture to the tapestry of Asgard, showing the Norse gods as a family full of love, strife, mistakes, and moments of greatness. The Aesir, dear friend, are not perfect. They argue, they scheme, they make errors that cost dearly, but they also protect, create, and endure. They are the reflection of humanity's highest and lowest qualities, magnified upon the stage of myth. Their stories remind us of courage, sacrifice, wisdom, and the inevitability of fate. And so, with the Aesir introduced, we have walked through the halls of Asgard, but Asgard is not alone. Across the shimmering bridge lies another realm of gods, the Vanir, whose ways are different, whose powers lie in fertility, magic, and peace. The Vanir gods, while the Aesir embody strength, war, and the rigid structure of order, the Vanir reflect life's quieter but equally powerful forces: growth, fertility, love, and the secrets of nature. Their realm, Vanaheim, glows with green light, fertile fields, gentle rivers, and the soft rustling of forests. In contrast to Asgard's golden halls and clanging weapons, Vanaheim is calm, abundant, and full of subtle magic. Long ago, the Aesir and Vanir warred, a conflict known as the Aesir-Vanir War. It was not a simple battle of good versus evil, but a clash of ways of being. The Aesir, structured and disciplined, the Vanir, natural and abundant. For a time, their fights shook the worlds, yet eventually, peace was brokered and hostages were exchanged to seal the alliance. This act of reconciliation reflects one of the Norse myth's recurring themes. Even the divine must balance conflict and cooperation. Njord, god of the sea, wind, and wealth, Njord is the eldest of the Vanir, a god tied intimately to the sea and to prosperity. Sailors and fishermen prayed to him for safe passage and plentiful catches, while farmers sought his blessing for fertile soil. He is often depicted as calm and benevolent, a god who brings abundance and safety. Njord also embodies duality. He loves the sea, yet must live in Asgard, among the Aesir, far from the waves and winds he favors. His story reminds us that even gods must navigate tension and compromise, reflecting the same struggles that humans face. Freyr, god of fertility, peace, and wealth. Freyr, son of Njord, is the god of fertility, sunlight, and growth. He brings abundance to fields and flocks, ensuring that life flourishes. He is associated with prosperity, peace, and pleasure, embodying the idea that life is not only struggle, but also delight. Freyr wields the magical ship Skidbladnir, which can carry all the gods and yet fold into a small pouch. He also has a golden boar, Gullinbursti, whose bristles shine with light, and which can travel swiftly over land and sea. Freyr's stories often intertwine with love and desire, as when he falls for the giantess Gerd, showing that even gods must pursue their hearts across boundaries and obstacles. Freyja, goddess of love, beauty, and magic. Freyja, sister of Freyr, is perhaps the most famous of the Vanir. She governs love, fertility, beauty, and the mystical arts, particularly Seder, a type of magic that can alter destiny and reveal hidden knowledge. She is both gentle and formidable, capable of fierce wrath or deep tenderness. Freyja rides in a chariot drawn by two large cats, her presence radiant and commanding. She possesses the necklace Brisingamen, a symbol of her beauty and power, and is said to receive half of those slain in battle into her halls, with the other half going to Odin in Valhalla. Her dual role reflects her balance between love and war, desire and destiny. Other notable Vanir, while Njord, Freyr, and Freyja are the most prominent, other Vanir gods and spirits contribute to Vanaheim's richness. Skadi, goddess of winter, and the hunt, often associated with the mountains, skiing, and archery. Though she is linked with the Aesir through marriage to Njord, she retains the wildness of her origin in Jotunheim. The lesser Vanir, whose names are lost to time, embody the cycles of life, nature, and magic. They represent the quiet power of growth, the unseen forces that shape crops, animals, and human fortune. The Vanir and the Aesir, unity through exchange. After the war between the Aesir and Vanir, hostages were exchanged to seal peace. Notably, Njord and his children, Freyr and Freyja, went to live in Asgard. This exchange symbolizes more than diplomacy. It represents the integration of forces, war and peace, order and fertility, strength and abundance. The Vanir's arrival in Asgard enriched the gods' understanding of the world, reminding all that power is not only measured in battle, but also in growth, magic, and harmony with nature. In this way, the Vanir complement the Aesir, forming a divine balance. The Aesir bring law, courage, and protection. The Vanir bring prosperity, fertility, and the subtle arts of magic. Together, they shape a cosmos that is vibrant and complex, echoing the world as humans experience it. Struggle and growth intertwined, life and death in perpetual balance. Imagine yourself now walking through Vanaheim. The air is warm and fragrant with flowers. Streams trickle gently over moss-covered stones. Birds sing hidden in leafy branches. Light dances on the grass. And everywhere there is the hum of life, the promise of growth, of seasons turning, of abundance and renewal. You feel the presence of Freyr in the fertile fields, Njord in the whispering wind, and Freyja in the brilliance of blossoms and light. It is peaceful, yet alive, a world where life thrives, quietly but powerfully, beneath the watchful gaze of the world tree. The Vanir remind us that even the divine cannot rely solely on strength or cunning. Love, fertility, prosperity, and the quiet magic of nature are equally vital. Without them, life falters, crops fail, seas grow restless, and the cycle of existence is broken. Loki, the trickster. Loki is a god of paradox. Born of the giants Farbauti and Laufey, he is bound to the Aesir by blood oath and by mischief. His face can be charming, his voice persuasive, and his mind quick and unpredictable. Loki is the fire in the hearth that warms but also burns, the wind that carries news but can topple trees. He embodies change, unpredictability, and the thin line between help and harm. From the earliest myths, Loki is entwined with both the Aesir and the Vanir, a god who bridges worlds, yet never fully belongs. He is welcomed in Asgard for his cleverness, often turning problems into opportunities, creating solutions that no one else could imagine. And yet, his tricks often backfire or serve his own amusement, leaving the gods frustrated, angry, or even in peril. Loki's nature and abilities. Loki is a shapeshifter. He can take the form of animals and humans, birds and fish, even insects. This ability allows him to slip into places others cannot reach, to escape punishment, or to create chaos in subtle ways. He is a master of deception, able to talk his way out of nearly any situation. Yet Loki is not without depth. He is clever, yes, but he is also cunning, understanding the hidden connections between beings and events. He senses the strands of fate that bind the gods and men, and he often acts in ways that seem chaotic, but reveal deeper truths about the nature of the worlds. He is a mirror, reflecting both the gods' wisdom and their blind spots. Loki and the gods Loki's relationship with the Aesir is complicated. He is a blood brother to Odin, yet often the source of strife. Many tales depict him as causing trouble, such as cutting Sif's hair or tricking the gods into dangerous situations. But Loki's cleverness also saves them on occasion, as when he helps secure the building of Asgard's walls or retrieves magical treasures that benefit the gods. This duality is central to understanding Loki. He is chaos personified, yet that chaos is necessary. In the myths, life cannot remain static. Without Loki, the gods would lack the challenges that define them, the tests that shape courage, wisdom, and resilience. Loki's children and their influence. Loki is also father to some of the most fearsome creatures in Norse mythology. Fenrir, the giant wolf, whose strength grows with each passing day. Fenrir is bound by the gods, yet his destiny is to break free at Ragnarok. Jormungandr, the world serpent, coiled around Midgard, whose venomous presence threatens both gods and men. Hel, ruler of Helheim, the realm of the dead. She governs the shadows and stillness, the quiet inevitability of mortality. Sleipnir, the eight-legged horse, born from Loki in mare form, gifted to Odin for speed and wisdom. Each of these children represents a force of nature, chaos, and inevitability. Loki's influence, then, is not confined to his own deeds. It extends through his offspring, shaping the worlds in profound ways. Loki and Ragnarok. The most significant aspect of Loki's story is his role in Ragnarok, the end of all things. Loki will lead the forces of chaos, siding with giants and monsters against the gods. He will face Heimdall in battle, and they will slay each other, while his children wreak havoc across the nine worlds. Yet, even in this destruction, Loki's role is part of the natural cycle. Chaos is required for renewal. Without him, the worlds would stagnate. With him, the inevitable cycle of death and rebirth is set in motion. Loki as a reflection to ponder. Loki is to ponder the nature of life itself. He is the trickster in our dreams, the challenge in our lives, the force that reminds us that control is an illusion. He embodies curiosity, mischief, and the unknown, teaching the gods and us that wisdom often comes wrapped in chaos. His story is unsettling, yet necessary, like a restless wind that shakes branches and clears old leaves for new growth. Imagine yourself now, dear friend, walking softly beside Loki through Asgard. He smiles at you, shifting between forms, never fully revealing his intent. You feel both the thrill of adventure and the shadow of uncertainty. You sense that the story is alive, always moving, never predictable. And in this awareness, you also feel the deep truth of the cosmos. Life is both order and chaos, laughter and danger, light and shadow, and all are necessary. And so, Loki drifts through the tales, a reminder that not everything is as it seems. He disrupts, deceives, and challenges, yet without him, the gods, the worlds, and humanity itself would lack depth and vitality. He is the spark of mischief, the shadow of wisdom, the god who walks the line between salvation and ruin. The giants, Jotnar, in the earliest whispers of creation. Ymir, the primordial giant, slept and sweated, giving birth to countless descendants. These were the Jotnar, giants of immense size, power, and variety, spreading across the void of Ginnungagap and filling the world with their presence. Unlike the gods, they are not inherently moral or structured. They are forces of nature made flesh, chaotic, immense, and unpredictable. The Jotnar are ancient, older than the Aesir and Vanir, and they embody the raw energy of the cosmos. Some are destructive, like the frost giants of icy Niflheim, who chill the seas and mountains. Others are creative, like the builders of mighty fortresses, or the keepers of hidden knowledge and magic. They are not evil, but they are not bound by the laws of the gods. They act according to their own nature, which can be gentle, cruel, wise, or foolish. Origins and nature of the Jotnar. The first giant, Ymir, was a being of immense chaos, and from his body sprang the race of the Jotnar. From his sweat came men and women giants, their forms vast and powerful, their strength unmatched. They multiply rapidly, filling the cold voids with life and noise. The Aesir saw them as rivals, yet they were also kin in a strange, distant way, for Ymir was the ancestor of many. The Jotnar are deeply connected to nature. Frost, fire, mountains, rivers, and storms, all are reflected in their forms and powers. Frost giants bring winter's chill. Fire giants wield heat and flame. Rock giants embody mountains and cliffs. And storm giants command thunder and wind. To the Norse imagination, these beings are not merely creatures, but the living forces of the world itself. Famous giants in myth many. Giants appear in stories, each reflecting aspects of the cosmos and human experience. Thrym, who stole Thor's hammer Mjolnir, forcing the god to disguise himself as a bride to reclaim it. Thrym is cunning, foolish, and large beyond measure, a blend of trickery and brute force. Skadi, a giantess associated with the mountains and winter, who later marries the Vanir god Njord. She embodies independence, skill, and the untamed beauty of snow and stone. Aegir, the sea giant, who hosts elaborate feasts for the gods under the ocean, blending danger and hospitality, showing that even giants can have subtle, complex personalities. The Jotnar are not one-dimensional. They are as varied as the world itself. Some are monstrous, some wise, some cunning, some cruel, and some benevolent. Their actions often test the gods, prompting feats of strength, cunning, or negotiation. The relationship between giants and gods. The relationship between the Jotnar and the gods is complex and often paradoxical. Giants are adversaries, teachers, lovers, and relatives. Many gods marry giantesses, and many giants help or trick the gods. Thor battles them frequently, yet Loki himself is born of the giant line. This duality reflects the Norse understanding of the cosmos. The world is shaped by the tension between order, the gods, and chaos, the giants. Neither can exist without the other. Giants challenge the gods, and in doing so, define them. They are the wild edge of existence, the untamed forces that keep the cosmos dynamic and alive. Giants and fate. The Jotnar are central to the myths of fate and destiny. They are part of the prophecy of Ragnarok, where chaos and order collide, and the world will be remade. Some giants, like Surt of Muspelheim, are agents of destruction, wielding fire to bring the end of all things. Others, like the frost giants, test the gods continually, reminding them that even divinity cannot escape challenge or change. Imagine now, dear friend, standing at the edge of Jotunheim. Mountains, rise jagged against the sky. The wind carries whispers of ancient voices, the roar of rivers, the crunch of ice. A giant moves through the mist, immense, powerful, a force of nature made flesh. There is awe, fear, and respect all at once. You feel the pulse of the wild, the rawness of existence, and understand that without this tension, without the giants' chaotic energy, the worlds would stagnate, the gods would falter, and the story of life itself would lose its sharpness. The Jotnar are more than enemies. They are reflections of nature and of humanity's fears and desires. They remind us that the world is vast, untamed, and full of powers that cannot be controlled. They are challenges, teachers, and mirrors, showing what lies beyond the bounds of order and law. They are chaos, beauty, and inevitability all in one. The dwarves and their magical creations. Deep within the roots of Yggdrasil lies Svartalfheim, also called Nidavellir, the realm of the dwarves. Here, the earth is alive with fire and stone, with tunnels and caverns stretching far beyond mortal sight. The dwarves are master craftsmen, their fingers shaping metal, stone, and wood into treasures of unimaginable beauty and power. They live in dimly lit halls, their forges glowing orange and gold, sparks rising like tiny stars in the underground night. The dwarves are ancient, born from the blood of Ymir, or, in some versions, from the earth itself. Their minds are sharp, their hands steady, and their patience unmatched. They are small compared to gods and giants, yet their skill makes them indispensable. Every magical object in the 9 worlds carries their mark. The hammer Mjolnir, the ship Skidbladnir, Odin's spear Gungnir, and Freyr's shining boar Gullinbursti. Life in the dwarf halls. Dwarves dwell in tight-knit communities within the mountains, crafting tirelessly. Their halls echo with the ringing of hammers, the hiss of molten metal, and the murmurs of secrets exchanged. They work not only for profit, but for the craft itself, creating objects that blend function, beauty, and magic. Their lives are long, measured in centuries, and they carry knowledge that spans generations. Despite their focus on creation, dwarves are not without cunning. They negotiate shrewdly, test mortals and gods alike, and sometimes trick those who seek their treasures. Their skill is matched by their cleverness, making them both valued and feared. Famous dwarven creations. Many of the most famous items in Norse mythology originate from the dwarves' forges. Mjolnir, Thor's hammer, capable of leveling mountains, yet returning to its master's hand. Gungnir, Odin's spear, balanced and unerring, a symbol of authority and fate. Skidbladnir, Freyr's magical ship, which folds into a pouch, yet carries all gods and warriors wherever they wish to go. Gullinbursti, Freyr's golden boar, whose bristles glow with light and travel swiftly across land and sea. Brisingamen, Freyja's necklace, radiating beauty and power, crafted with both artistry and enchantment. Each object reflects not only dwarven skill, but also the intricate weave of myth. These treasures shape events, empower gods, and influence the fate of the worlds. Dwarves and the gods, though they live beneath the earth, dwarves are deeply intertwined with the lives of gods and mortals. They provide weapons and artifacts essential to divine orders. Yet they are not servants. The gods must bargain, persuade, or even trick them to obtain these treasures. This dynamic shows the dwarves' independence and wisdom. Their power lies in what they can create, and they guard it carefully. Dwarves also embody the principle that creation requires effort, patience, and knowledge, while giants and gods wield brute force or divine authority. Dwarves succeed through skill, innovation, and subtle mastery. They are the hidden architects of the cosmos, shaping the physical and magical tools that maintain balance among the nine worlds. Symbolism of the dwarves in Norse mythology. Dwarves represent craftsmanship, intelligence, and the unseen labor that sustains the world. They are small but mighty, patient and cunning, and intimately connected to the raw materials of the earth. Their presence reminds us that creation is as vital as battle, as subtle as magic, and as enduring as stone. Imagine standing in a dwarven hall. Sparks rise from glowing forges. The scent of heated metal fills the air, and the rhythmic hammering creates a steady, comforting pulse. You feel the weight of knowledge and skill surrounding you, a quiet power that shapes the very fabric of the nine worlds. Each creation carries intention, care, and magic, sustaining gods, giants, and humans alike. The dwarves are hidden, but essential, reminding us that the strength of the cosmos is not only in visible might, but also in unseen skill, patience, and artistry. The elves, within the branches of Yggdrasil, among the hidden groves and radiant glades, dwell the elves, beings of light and subtle magic. They are divided into light elves, known as Ljósálfar, and dark elves, called Dokkalfar or Svartalfar in some accounts. Each race embodies distinct aspects of existence, weaving life, magic, and mystery into the fabric of the nine worlds. The light elves inhabit Alfheim, a realm suffused with soft, silver light. Their presence is delicate, yet powerful. They are guardians of beauty, inspiration, and growth. Mortals may glimpse them as shimmering figures moving gracefully through forests or along rivers under the glow of dawn or moonlight. The light elves encourage creativity, fertility, and harmony, tending to the subtle rhythms of the natural world. In contrast, the dark elves dwell in the deep caverns of Svartalfheim, often alongside dwarves. They are more enigmatic, dwelling in shadow and stone. Skilled in craftsmanship and magic, they shape objects and enchantments with precision, often unseen by mortal or divine eyes. The dark elves represent the hidden, mysterious aspects of life, secrecy, the unknown, and the inner workings of the world beneath the surface. Elves are deeply connected to the gods and humans alike. They can grant blessings, deliver messages, or inspire poets and warriors. Freyr, god of fertility, is said to have dominion over Alfheim, highlighting the elves' connection to abundance, growth, and prosperity. They move between the material and the spiritual, subtly influencing events without asserting overt dominance. The elves' magic is not loud or violent, but quiet and pervasive. It nurtures crops, inspires song, and fosters the bonds between beings. Their presence in the nine worlds reflects balance, reminding all that life thrives not only through power and force, but through guidance, inspiration, and the subtle shaping of destiny. Light elves shine as reminders of beauty and harmony, while dark elves represent knowledge, skill, and the hidden forces that shape reality. Together, they sustain the unseen magic of the cosmos, each movement and whispered action echoing through Midgard, Asgard, and beyond. In imagining Alfheim, one can picture a serene landscape bathed in soft luminescence. Rivers gleam with silver, flowers bloom in perpetual subtle radiance, and figures of delicate beauty move effortlessly through the glades. Svartalfheim, in contrast, is a labyrinth of shadowed tunnels, glowing forges, and quiet, intricate workshops. The elves there work with precision, creating objects of subtle power, maintaining the balance of the world from below. The elves remind all beings that not all influence is visible. The most profound forces are often hidden, shaping life and fate with care and subtlety. They are part of the hidden rhythm of existence, echoing the magic of creation, growth, and renewal that underlies every branch of Yggdrasil. The mythical creatures beneath the branches of Yggdrasil and across the 9 worlds, creatures of immense power and mystery, move through myth, shaping fate and testing gods and mortals alike. These beings are more than animals. They embody elemental forces, destiny, and the balance of the cosmos. Among them, Fenrir, Jormungandr, and Nidhogg hold central roles, their presence both feared and essential. Fenrir, the great wolf, was born of Loki and the giantess Angerboda. From the moment of his birth, the gods sensed his extraordinary strength and destined impact. As he grew, Fenrir's power became impossible to contain. The Aesir, wary of his potential to disrupt order, attempted to bind him. Fenrir, sensing deception, agreed to chains only if a god placed a hand in his mouth as a pledge of good faith. Tyr, the god of law, stepped forward, sacrificing his hand to ensure Fenrir's binding. Fenrir remains imprisoned, yet prophecy foretells that he will break free at Ragnarok, devouring Odin before being slain by Odin's son, Vidar. Fenrir embodies inevitability, the unstoppable force of destiny that challenges all, even the gods. Jormungandr, the world serpent, is another of Loki's children. Thrown into the sea surrounding Midgard, he grew so immense that he encircled the world, biting his own tail. His presence represents the cycles of existence, the interconnection of life and death, and the constant tension beneath the surface of reality. When he releases his grip at Ragnarok, he will rise from the sea to battle Thor, whose death he will cause even as he falls himself. Jormungandr embodies the immense and hidden power of nature, the threat and inevitability lurking in every current and storm. Nidhogg, the serpent or dragon at the base of Yggdrasil, gnaws ceaselessly at the roots of the world tree. His actions are a constant reminder of decay, danger, and the necessary erosion that sustains life through balance. Ravens and squirrels move among the branches, carrying messages and stirring discord. Yet Nidhogg's persistence symbolizes the inescapable pressure of entropy. Life continues, nourished by hidden waters and sunlight, even as decay works quietly beneath. Other creatures contribute to this intricate web. Sleipnir, the 8-legged horse born of Loki in mare form, carries Odin across worlds, connecting realms and enabling divine intervention. The Valkyries, ethereal warrior maidens, ride the skies to guide the fallen to Valhalla, bridging life and death. Giants, dragons, and spirits all inhabit this cosmos, each a force with its own role, each bound to the patterns of fate and Yggdrasil's eternal structure. These creatures are not merely threats or tools, they are symbols of forces that govern existence. Fenrir embodies unavoidable destiny, Jormungandr, the cyclical and interconnected nature of life. Nidhogg, the slow erosion that ensures renewal, and Sleipnir, the speed and mobility required for understanding and influence across realms. Each contributes to the rhythm and tension that defines the nine worlds. Imagine standing at the edge of a quiet glade or the mouth of a cavern. In the distance, the great serpent stirs beneath the waves, a shadow curling around the world. At the root of the world tree, Nidhogg gnaws persistently, unseen yet profoundly felt. In the skies above, Valkyries glide silently, guiding souls with precision and purpose. Fenrir waits, coiled with restrained power, a reminder that even bound, forces cannot escape fate. Every creature occupies its proper place, sustaining and challenging the worlds, a perfect balance of tension and harmony. Through these creatures, the myths convey the necessity of both order and chaos. Without them, the gods would lack challenge, humans would lack awe, and the cosmos would lack its dynamic flow. They are elemental, inevitable, and essential, the living embodiments of forces that define the nine worlds and all who inhabit them. The wells and rivers of Yggdrasil, beneath the vast branches of Yggdrasil, the world tree, lie waters that sustain the nine worlds, flowing with knowledge, fate, and life itself. These wells and rivers are not ordinary waters. They are sacred, ancient, and deeply intertwined with the structure of existence. To touch them is to feel the pulse of the cosmos, to sense the weaving of time, destiny, and the essence of all beings. At the base of Yggdrasil, near the roots that delve into Niflheim, lies Urd's Well, or Urdarbrunner. This is the well of fate, tended by the three Norns, Urd, Verdandi, and Skuld. Urd, meaning what has been, Verdandi, what is, and Skuld, what shall be, spin the threads of destiny for gods and mortals alike. The well is fed by the waters of fate and nourishes Yggdrasil itself, keeping the world tree alive and stable. Around it, moss and stones glisten with a quiet, otherworldly light, as if the passage of time itself is visible in ripples and shadows. The Norns carve runes into stones and water, inscribing destinies with a calm, inevitable precision. Mimir's well, also called the Well of Wisdom, lies in a different root, hidden and deep. Mimir, guardian of this source of profound knowledge, holds secrets older than the gods themselves. Odin sacrificed one of his eyes to drink from this well, gaining insight into the workings of the cosmos, the fates of gods, and the cycles of life and death. The waters here are dark, reflective, and full of the quiet weight of understanding, the kind that presses on the soul with both comfort and inevitability. Vergelmir, another great well, lies in Niflheim, and from it flow numerous rivers. Hvergelmir is a source of both creation and decay, its waters nourishing the roots of Yggdrasil while carrying away what is no longer needed. In its depths, Nidhogg gnaws at the tree's roots, a reminder that destruction and renewal exist together. From Hvergelmir flow 11 rivers that course through the 9 worlds, shaping landscapes, life, and myth alike. These rivers carry both blessings and hidden dangers, reflecting the duality of water as life-giving yet relentless. These wells and rivers are not only physical but symbolic, representing knowledge, fate, memory, and the unseen forces that guide the cosmos. They connect all realms, binding gods, humans, giants, and creatures in an intricate web of cause and effect. The flow of water mirrors the flow of time, constant and unstoppable, shaping the 9 worlds as much as any god or giant. Imagine leaning over Erd's well. The surface is smooth, reflecting not only your image, but 1,000 possibilities of what has been, what is, and what may come. The air is filled with the soft murmur of the Norns at work, the faint ripple of water, and the gentle scent of moss and stone. At Mimir's well, darkness stretches into infinity, and drinking from it is to grasp wisdom tinged with sorrow and clarity, understanding the weight of choices, inevitability, and consequence. At Hvergelmir, the waters rush in ceaseless flow, carrying both the life and decay of the worlds, a reminder that all things are transient and interconnected. The wells and rivers of Yggdrasil remind us that the universe is alive, that every branch, root, and leaf is nourished by the flow of knowledge and fate. They are silent witnesses to creation, destruction, love, and death. To envision them is to feel the slow, steady pulse of existence, the quiet rhythm that underlies all myth, all story, and all life. Through these waters, the 9 worlds are sustained, and the forces of fate, wisdom, and renewal move seamlessly between realms. Every being, from gods to humans, giants to elves, depends on this flow, conscious or not. These sacred waters are the arteries of the cosmos, carrying the essence of life, memory, and destiny through Yggdrasil's immense and eternal body. The creation of the world and humanity, long before the halls of Asgard gleamed, before the giants roamed Jotunheim, and before the dwarves shaped treasures in Svartalfheim, there was the void, Ginnungagap, a yawning emptiness suspended between the realms of fire and ice. To the north lay Niflheim, a world of frost, ice, and mist. To the south stretched Muspelheim, a land of fire, heat, and flame. In the silence and tension between these 2 extremes, the first spark of life stirred, and from that union, the cosmos began to take shape. The melting ice of Niflheim met the sparks of Muspelheim, creating the primordial being Ymir, a giant whose body contained the essence of both fire and ice. From his sweat came the first frost giants, his being both life-giving and dangerous. From Ymir's body, the gods would later craft the structure of the world itself. The blood of Ymir became the seas and rivers, his flesh the earth, his bones the mountains, and his skull the sky, his brain scattered through the clouds, forming the storms and winds. Even in destruction, his essence remained, shaping and nourishing the worlds in subtle, enduring ways. From the sparks and chaos of Ginnungagap, the gods Odin, Vili, and Ve, sons of the primordial giant boar, shaped the first humans. They found Ask and Embla, two lifeless beings of the wood, washed upon the shore. Odin gave them life and spirit, Vili granted them intelligence and emotion, and Ve bestowed senses, speech, and appearance. Through these gifts, humans became aware, creative, and capable of shaping their own destiny. Midgard, the land that would become humanity's home, was formed from Ymir's eyebrows, a protective boundary separating humans from the chaos of the giants. The creation of the world was an act of both power and balance, fire and ice, chaos and order, life and death, all combined to shape the nine worlds. The gods themselves were not eternal. They were born from this primordial act, tied inseparably to the structure of existence. Humanity, too, was born in this delicate balance, dependent on the gifts of the gods and the framework of Yggdrasil. Rivers and seas flowed across the land, forests grew from fertile soil, and the sun and moon were placed to illuminate and guide. Stars were set in the sky, the constellations a map of fate and memory. Every element of the cosmos reflected harmony and tension, life and the inevitability of decay. Humans, dwarves, elves, giants, and gods were bound together, each part of the unfolding story of creation. In this vision, you can imagine standing at the edge of Midgard at the first dawn. The air shimmers with light, mist rises from rivers and valleys, and the first trees stretch their limbs toward the sky. The winds carry the faint whisper of fire and frost meeting, and the pulse of the world tree can be felt in every living thing. Ask and Embla stand at the water's edge, eyes opening for the first time, feeling the warmth of life, the awareness of existence, and the quiet pull of destiny. Creation, in Norse mythology, is not simply the making of a physical world. It is the establishment of a cosmos of relationships, tension, and interconnection. Every action, every being, every spark of life resonates through the nine worlds. The story reminds us that existence is fragile, balanced between chaos and order, shaped by the forces of fire, ice, earth, and spirit. Life is precious because it emerges from this intricate, delicate interplay, and humanity's place is both humble and central in the unfolding of the cosmos. The nine realms, connections, and cosmic geography, the nine worlds of Norse mythology, are not separate islands, but interconnected realms, each distinct yet bound together by the immense eternal branches and roots of Yggdrasil, the world tree. Yggdrasil rises from the deepest reaches of Niflheim, stretching its limbs through the heavens, carrying the weight of creation, fate, and life itself. Its roots touch sacred wells, its branches shelter deities, elves, and humans, and its trunk stands as the central axis of the cosmos, linking all worlds in a delicate, living web. At the center lies Midgard, the realm of humanity, encircled by the great ocean where Jormungandr coils. It is protected by the god's careful hand, yet constantly influenced by the forces of giants, elves, and magic. Midgard is connected to Asgard, home of the Aesir, by Bifrost, the Rainbow Bridge. This shimmering path is both beautiful and fragile, a conduit for gods, messengers, and heroes. It symbolizes the connection between mortal and divine, the crossing from ordinary life to the extraordinary, and the constant need for vigilance, for the bridge can be burned or broken when chaos threatens. Asgard sits high above, its golden halls gleaming and eternal, home to Odin, Thor, Frigg, and the Aesir. Here the gods deliberate, fight, feast, and watch over the worlds. The realm is both a fortress and a palace, a place of law and counsel, yet its beauty masks the tensions that ripple across all realms. Vanaheim, the realm of the Vanir, pulses with fertile abundance. Its fields, rivers, and forests are alive with growth, reflecting the calm and subtle power of the gods who govern fertility, prosperity, and magic. Though separate from Asgard, the Vanir are tied to the Aesir through alliances, marriages, and treaties, showing that even distant realms maintain influence over one another. Alfheim, land of the light elves, radiates with silvery glow, a realm of inspiration, creativity, and harmony. In contrast, Svartalfheim, or Nidavellir, home of the dwarves and sometimes dark elves, lies beneath the surface, illuminated by glowing forges and brimming with craftsmanship and skill. These realms, above and below, remind us that the cosmos has layers, visible light, hidden shadow, and a constant interplay between them. Jotunheim, the realm of giants, is rugged and chaotic, with mountains, forests, and storms shaping its landscape. It contrasts sharply with Asgard's order and Midgard's balance, embodying the raw, untamed energy that challenges gods and humans alike. Some giants dwell near the edges, others far in icy or fiery wastelands, always testing the boundaries of order. Muspelheim, the land of fire, and Niflheim, the land of ice and mist, occupy the extremes of the cosmic geography. Muspelheim radiates heat and energy, its flames shaping creation, while Niflheim carries frost, fog, and the inevitability of decay. The meeting of these forces in Ginnungagap gave birth to Ymir, showing that even the cosmos itself is forged from opposing elements. Helheim, ruled by Hel, daughter of Loki, is the realm of the dead who do not die in battle. It is shadowed, quiet, and mysterious, a reflection of mortality and the inescapable flow of life's cycles. Its existence reminds mortals and gods alike that all life is finite, that endings are as natural as beginnings, and that death is woven into the pattern of Yggdrasil. Rivers, wells, and roads connect these realms, carrying water, magic, and the movement of beings across the cosmos. The roots of Yggdrasil penetrate deep into Vergelmir and Urd's well, while its branches extend toward Alfheim and Asgard. Every creature, every god, every elf and dwarf is bound by these connections. their actions echoing across realms. Even seemingly distant events ripple outward, touching every corner of existence. To imagine the nine worlds is to picture a living, breathing system, a tree whose trunk is time, whose branches are paths of life, and whose roots draw upon the deep, sacred forces that sustain all creation. Standing at the edge of Midgard and looking up, one can sense Asgard's golden halls, Alfheim's silvery radiance, the jagged peaks of Jotunheim, and the quiet fires of Muspelheim. The worlds are distinct, yet inseparable, bound by Yggdrasil's strength and the subtle threads of fate. The geography of the nine worlds is more than physical. It is a map of relationships, power, and balance. The realms influence one another, shaping the lives of gods, humans, giants, elves, and dwarves. Yggdrasil is the axis around which existence turns, a reminder that all things are interconnected, that every action has consequence, and that harmony emerges only through the interplay of diverse forces. Ragnarok, the end and renewal of the world's Ragnarok, the twilight of the gods, is the ultimate turning point in Norse mythology. It is not merely an ending, but a cycle of destruction and renewal, a cosmic crescendo in which fate, chaos, and courage converge. Unlike a sudden catastrophe, Ragnarok is foretold through omens, harsh winters that last 3 years, moral decay, the breaking of natural order, and unrest among gods, giants, and mortals alike. Its inevitability casts a quiet shadow across all of the nine worlds, a tension that hums beneath daily life, shaping choices and actions even before the final hour arrives. The signs begin subtly. The sun darkens, the stars tremble, and the seas churn with unease. Wolves, Fenrir, and Skoll stalk the heavens, the latter chasing the sun itself. Loki, freed from his chains, rallies giants, monsters, and forces of chaos. The Midgard serpent, Jormungandr, rises from the encircling ocean, venom spilling across the waves. Fire giants emerge from Muspelheim, led by Surt, whose flaming sword will scorch the earth. Even the Norns, who weave fate, can only watch, for destiny itself is reaching its climax. The Battle of Ragnarok unfolds across the nine worlds. Thor confronts Jormungandr, striking with all his might. The serpent's venom kills him even as he slays it. Odin faces Fenrir, whose jaws engulf him before his son Vidar avenges him. Heimdall and Loki meet in fatal combat, each striking the other down. Giants, gods, and monsters clash with unrelenting force, and the earth trembles beneath their struggle. Yggdrasil quivers, its roots and branches straining under the weight of chaos. Yet the tree does not fall. It endures, as it always has, as it always will. Fires sweep across Muspelheim, consuming landscapes and realms alike. Waves rise from Hvergelmir, and the oceans, flooding Midgard. Mountains crumble, forests burn, and rivers overflow. Yet amidst this devastation, the cycles of life and rebirth are already stirring. From the ashes and waters, new lands will emerge, fresh and fertile. Survivors among gods and humans, including Balder and Hoder, will return. New rulers will ascend, and the world will begin again, cleansed and renewed. Ragnarok is not chaos without Purpose. It is the mechanism by which the nine worlds are renewed, by which corruption, decay, and imbalance are erased, and life is restored. It embodies the Norse understanding of existence. Nothing is permanent. Power and life are fleeting, and yet from destruction comes opportunity, from endings, beginnings. The fall of gods and giants alike is not final despair, but preparation for a world reborn, stronger and wiser. Even in its terror, Ragnarok carries lessons of courage, resilience, and the acceptance of fate. The gods fight, knowing their end is near. Humans live aware of mortality, and all beings act within the limits and possibilities of destiny. It is a story of inevitability balanced by honor, of endings imbued with hope, and of a cosmos that moves in cycles rather than linear permanence. To imagine Ragnarok is to envision both fire and ice, chaos and order, death and renewal intertwined. The roar of battle, the hiss of venom, the crackle of flames, and the trembling of Yggdrasil all converge into a vision of inevitability. Yet when the fires subside and the waters recede, the nine worlds rise anew, fresh and bright, with survivors and new generations breathing life into the cleansed earth. Ragnarok is the ultimate expression of the Norse cosmic vision, a cycle in which courage, fate, and renewal coexist, a reminder that endings are not final, that every collapse contains the seed of rebirth, and that life's continuity depends on embracing both destruction and creation. The aftermath of Ragnarok and the new world after. The cataclysmic battle of Ragnarok, when fire and flood sweep across the nine worlds, and Yggdrasil quivers beneath the weight of destruction, a new beginning emerges. The devastation is not the final silence of existence, but a clearing of space for life to return, renewed and reshaped. From the ashes and the waters, the remnants of gods, humans, and creatures rise to inhabit a world that is at once familiar and transformed, a cosmos cleansed and fertile with possibility. Among the survivors are Balder, the god of light and purity, and his brother Hoder, who was once blind to his actions. Their return symbolizes the restoration of harmony, justice, and compassion. Vidar and Vali, sons of Odin, emerge as guardians of the new order, embodying the resilience and continuity of the divine line. Thor's sons, Modi and Magni, inherit Mjolnir, carrying forward strength, tempered by experience and wisdom. Even the giants are diminished, their chaotic influence reduced, leaving a space in which balance can be restored. Humanity, too, survives. Lif and Lifthrasir, the first two humans to endure the Great Flood, emerge from the shelter of Yggdrasil's branches. From them, a new generation grows, learning from the mistakes of the past and living in a world shaped by both memory and renewal. These humans carry the wisdom of cycles, that life is fragile, that choices carry weight, and that even in destruction, there is opportunity for growth and harmony. The landscape itself is transformed. Rivers, once wild with the upheaval of floodwaters, settle into new courses. Mountains that crumbled in battle rise in softened forms. Fertile valleys emerge, and forests reclaim the earth. the sun shines with renewed brilliance, illuminating Midgard and the other realms with light untainted by chaos. Yggdrasil, though scarred, remains steadfast, its roots and branches supporting the interconnected worlds and reminding all beings of continuity, endurance, and resilience. Magic and power are redistributed. Some treasures and weapons lost in battle are reforged or reenchanted. Knowledge flows once more through Mimir's well. Fate is tended by the Norns, and the balance between order and chaos is reestablished. Light elves return to Alfheim, tending the glades and inspiring life, while dwarves and dark elves resume their hidden work of craft and subtle influence. The forces of nature, once unbound and threatening, settle into rhythms that sustain rather than overwhelm. The new world is both a continuation and a fresh start. It retains the lessons of the past, the inevitability of fate, the necessity of courage, and the importance of balance between opposing forces. The gods, while not immortal in the same way as before, guide the worlds with wisdom shaped by experience, tempered by the knowledge of loss and renewal. Life in Midgard is vibrant, aware, and respectful of both the fragility and the enduring strength of existence. To envision this new world is to picture a landscape of quiet wonder, soft sunlight warming forests, rivers carrying sparkling waters across fertile plains, and the gentle hum of life restored. The survivors of gods and humans walk among each other, aware of the lessons imparted by the past cycle, yet ready to embrace creation anew. Yggdrasil towers above them, a steadfast presence anchoring the nine worlds, its leaves whispering of both memory and promise. The aftermath of Ragnarok reminds us that endings are never final, that life's continuity depends on cycles of death and rebirth, and that even the greatest chaos contains the seeds of order. It is a vision of hope woven into the tapestry of myth, a cosmos in which existence endures, grows, and flourishes, shaped by the interplay of fate, courage, and the forces that govern all life. The themes and lessons of Norse mythology. Norse mythology is more than a collection of stories about gods, giants, elves, dwarves, and mythical creatures. It is a reflection of existence itself. Its narratives explore the tension between order and chaos, the inevitability of fate, the cycles of life and death, and the value of courage, wisdom, and resilience. In the quiet of these myths, one finds insight into the human experience, woven into a cosmos alive with magic, conflict, and renewal. One central theme is the inevitability of fate. The Norns, spinning the threads of destiny at Urd's well, remind gods and mortals alike that all actions are interconnected, that choices matter, yet that the ultimate outcomes are woven into the larger pattern. Even Odin, who seeks knowledge from Mimir's well, cannot escape the prophecies of Ragnarok. This acceptance of destiny encourages preparation, courage, and wisdom, showing that awareness of fate is not limitation but guidance. Another recurring theme is the balance between order and chaos. The Aesir maintain law, courage, and protection, while the Vanir embody growth, fertility, and subtle magic. The giants, Loki, and mythical creatures represent forces of disruption and change. Life, like the cosmos, is a constant interplay of stability and upheaval. Myths illustrate that without chaos, order cannot be tested or appreciated, and without order, chaos becomes destructive. Balance is not passive but active, requiring vigilance, courage, and adaptation. The cycles of life, death, and renewal are central to Norse cosmology. Creation emerges from the void of Ginnungagap. Life thrives on Yggdrasil, and Ragnarok brings both destruction and the promise of rebirth. Even in endings, seeds of new beginnings exist. Humans, gods, and creatures all participate in these cycles, learning resilience and wisdom. The myths teach that growth often comes through struggle, and that the flow of time encompasses loss, change, and regeneration. Courage, loyalty, and sacrifice are woven throughout the tales. Tyr sacrifices his hand to bind Fenrir. Thor and the Aesir gods face inevitable peril with bravery. Lif and Lifthrasir endure the flood to carry humanity forward. These stories demonstrate that strength is not only physical, but moral, intellectual, and emotional. Courage is the willingness to act in the face of uncertainty, to uphold values despite the inevitability of change. Norse mythology also emphasizes the power of knowledge, craft, and subtle influence. The dwarves, elves, and even Loki's cunning highlight that wisdom, creativity, and subtlety are as crucial as strength and valor. Knowledge, whether drawn from wells, crafted into enchanted objects, or exercised through cleverness, shapes the world and determines survival. These myths celebrate intelligence and artistry as vital forces in maintaining balance and harmony. Mortality and the passage of time are ever-present reminders. Helheim, Nidhogg, at the roots of Yggdrasil, and the ever-looming prophecy of Ragnarok underscore life's impermanence. Humans, gods, and creatures alike confront death and decay, yet through this awareness, they act with intention, honor, and foresight. The mythic world is structured around the understanding that life is finite and that acceptance of impermanence enriches existence rather than diminishes it. At a deeper level, Norse mythology explores interconnection and interdependence. The 9 worlds, bound by Yggdrasil, demonstrate that actions ripple across realms. Every being, from gods to humans, dwarves to giants, contributes to the cosmic balance. The stories encourage reflection on relationships, consequences, and the unseen threads that link life, choice, and destiny. Finally, these myths offer a vision of beauty, mystery, and wonder. Alfheim glimmers with light, Vanaheim flourishes with life, and the hidden forges of Svartalfheim create objects of enduring magic. Even amidst chaos and peril, there is artistry, love, and awe. The myths invite contemplation of the unseen forces that shape reality, the magic inherent in creation, and the subtle rhythms that sustain the worlds. In this way, Norse mythology is both a map and a mirror. It guides understanding of courage, balance, and fate, while reflecting the complexities of life itself. Its lessons are enduring. Embrace change, honor duty, value wisdom, act with courage, respect the cycles of life, and recognize the hidden forces that shape existence. The cosmos is vast, mysterious, and alive, and within it, all beings, mortal and divine, have a place and purpose. By immersing in these stories, one absorbs the quiet rhythm of myth, the pulse of the nine worlds, and the enduring truth that life, in all its complexity, is a tapestry woven from the threads of fate, courage, wisdom, and renewal. Now, with a smile on your face, you will have a good understanding of the entire Norse mythology and a peaceful night's sleep. Goodbye, dear friend. See you next time.